Hey, Revs fans, welcome back to the Far Post podcast, another social distancing episode for you. We're switching things up, again, not in the studio, but also with who's hosting today. So I'm taking over as your host, Elizabeth Pehota, but don't worry, if you want to get your booze in, Jeff Lemieux is still here too. Jeff, I'm curious to see if you get booed today, given that you're not hosting the show.
I better get booed. It doesn't feel right if I don't get booed.
I hear them. Whoa. It came in louder today.
Feels a little weird. I don't know if it feels better or worse to be booed over the internet. And I'm not sure what I did, but I'm sure I did something to deserve it.
No, of course. But how have you been doing, Jeff? Have you been holding up?
Yeah. Just taking things day by day, which I think is all anybody can do at this point. Staying inside, staying safe, following all the social distancing protocol, and just, I think like everybody else, just kind of rolling with the punches and taking everything day by day. That's all we can do.
Yeah, absolutely. We hope that everybody is still practicing social distancing and staying safe. It's so important at this time that we all band together with this. And while we're not at Gillette Stadium, we do have a special guest who's joining us today, and that's New England Revolution goalkeeper Matt Turner. Matt, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me on, guys. Thanks for making the time for me, I should say.
I mean, we have a busy schedule right now, given the social distancing.
I can imagine.
But first things first, given the circumstances with COVID-19 and having to stay at home, how have you been holding up, Matt?
Yeah, I've been doing all right. Obviously, it feels like a big piece of me is kind of missing right now. But overall, doing what I can, social distancing, doing the things that you're supposed to do to be a contributing member to society right now, and trying to flatten the curve and hanging in there.
And you're up in Boston, but you do have family that lives in New Jersey. And I know New York, as someone who's from Connecticut, is an area that got hit very hard. So how's your family holding up right now?
Yeah, just pretty good. You know, my mom and dad are following the guidelines, staying safe. And then one of my sisters lives in my hometown with my brother-in-law and her two kids, and they're also hanging in there. My one sister, my middle older sister, Michelle, I want to give a quick shout out to her because she is a nurse and she's kind of been on the front lines of this whole thing. So she's really grinding through it, and she's been safe so far and doing everything she can to help, you know, her call to duty right now. And I think, she's just really blown me away with how she's embraced the whole thing, and it's pretty amazing, and super proud of her. And she always brags about me, and this is the time I can take to brag about her. So I'm proud to be Michelle Turner's brother in this one.
That's awesome. I love turning the tables on that. And she really is a hero right now in the hospital. How has she embraced it? How close have you guys stayed in contact?
Yeah, we talk every single day, whether it's on her way home from work or way to work. She's pretty busy, all hands on deck when she's there. It's been an adjustment period, but it's kind of, I feel like the way she sort of described it was as it's time for war type. Like, everyone needs to be on the same page. Everyone needs to be ready for battle, because we gotta keep the turnover, keep people alive, keep staying healthy and focusing on things and being there for each other physically and emotionally. And it's created like even a closer team for them, you know, because what we go through sometimes physically, emotionally can bring you closer together. And, you know, this is completely different than what we do. We just play a sport. This is dealing with people's lives. So she's definitely embraced it. She's taken a leadership role within it. And like I said, super proud of her. And she's just blowing me away every day.
I feel like, Matt, it's the people who are kind of on the front lines like that, who are the people who are seeing the effects of this pandemic on a day-to-day basis. So how important is it, I guess, to kind of get that message out from the healthcare professionals, people like your sister who are there every day and see it, and kind of have that firsthand knowledge of, you can get that message across to people of how serious this is and what they're seeing every day?
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Luckily, I have her, because our family group chat is normally very active, but is especially active these days. And she was one of the ones a couple weeks ago where she knew it was serious, but didn't know how serious it would get here. And, you know, it always seemed to get worse and worse. And her outlook very quickly changed onto how bad this was going to get. So she she really made our family aware that, hey guys, look, this is going to be something really serious. You know, don't listen to any other outside noise about what it is or isn't. This is what I'm seeing. This is what I'm hearing through the healthcare system. And you guys should really get ready to bear down, because it's going to be a grind. So we were so lucky to have that, because for my mom and dad and for my sister and with the kids, you know, it's great for them to be able to like kind of get in front of all that, so they could stack up and get everything ready and know that things are going to spread. So they're not going to take the extra risk early on. And you know, same for my grandpa and all my family. So it's been really great to have access to someone like Michelle right now, and super valuable for my family.
I will say that a silver lining I've seen in a lot of this is people staying in really close contact and checking in on each other. And it sounds like your family is a case in point example of that.
Absolutely, yeah. My mom likes to host happy hours on family happy hours on Saturday evenings. So we have that to look forward to every week. And we kind of, although we're talking every single day, almost all day, it's nice to, you know, have a drink and unwind and really talk about kind of how we feel about everything. You know, it's tough for me because they're all really close together and I'm all the way up here, so being apart from my family, but I know it's what's best for everybody involved. So, because who knows? That's the scariest part, is who knows? I could have been exposed to it. I could be carrying this virus and not even know. So I'm a younger, fit guy. You might not even really realize that you're sick, and then I go home and boom, my dad gets sick, my mom gets sick. So it's better for everybody just to stay up here and be alone.
Absolutely. It's important to keep practicing that social distancing. And while you've stayed in contact very closely with your family, how closely have you stayed in contact with your teammates throughout this time?
Very closely. We talk, I mean, you know, Farrell and I, we talk every day, play some video games together. But our team group chat's pretty active with, you know, updates on training and things, you know, for down the line, you know, not that no one's getting together or anything, but people have a lot of questions and curiosities about the length of this. So it's been good. Scotty Caldwell has been such a good resource for us, being on the board of the MLSPA, and he's been able to get us some good info and give guys some good insight, a little Spanish, a little English talked in the chat, and it's been good. You know, if there was ever a time for something like this, now's the time, because we have all these tools where we can stay close together. We have all this access to information where we know, okay, this is what we're going to need to do to stay fit. And the information, when it comes, it gets out very quickly, and then you can kind of readjust. So you get like one plan in your mind and you kind of think, okay, this is what I need to do for the next couple of days. And then it's an ever-changing situation. So you have to be flexible and ready to adapt as well. But we're staying close.
I know you mentioned the ways that everyone can kind of stay in touch with each other through a situation like this. One of the ways players have stayed in touch with fans is through Instagram Live. And I know you hopped in on Kellen Rowe's Instagram Live when he went live to do his little tailgate a couple of weeks ago before one of the FIFA 20 simulations. Was that planned out, or did you spur the moment? Were you just like, you know what, I'll just slide in here? I'm
just going to say that was a Saturday night, and it was briefly, it was after a family run happy hour, and I saw that he was live, and then I requested to be in the video. So there was a bit of liquid courage, I should say, but it was no regrets. We had a good time. The fans, I think, really enjoyed that, and like I've said on a couple different interviews now, hopefully these things can kind of humanize us to them and see what we're really like off the field, because no matter how many of these interviews you do, you still, the most time that they see of you is what you're like on the field or in training. And so right now the content all over the league that's been getting put out has been like really showing guys true colors and what they're all about and who they are as people, which is, I think, pretty cool, like a pretty cool time to be a fan.
That's what this entire podcast is about. That's what we're going to call it, Matt Turner's True Colors, and then we're just going to put it out.
Oh, wow. There you go. Yeah.
It's just perfect. Rebrand
it. Yeah.
And Matt, you mentioned, you had an Instagram live session with Kellen. I know you said you've been in touch with Andrew Farrell a lot recently as well. Farrell's been putting together Fortnite tournaments that have benefited charities that are trying to fight against COVID-19.
Mm-hmm.
With that, how has that process been for you, and how did that idea come together?
He just kind of FaceTimed me one day and was like, "Hey, I'm doing this. Do you want to play?" And I was like, "Of course, I'm going to play anyway. I might as well do it for a good cause." So he put together a fundraiser through his little clothing brand and some of his friends from Louisville. And we got guys from around the league to kind of join in and just pretty much play Fortnite. And he sort of ran the tournament. It wasn't like this big official like Twitch event or anything, but guys were streaming their games, and there was some fan interaction. It was a very small scale for what I think like one day maybe it could be. But for now, it was like the perfect, get your foot in the door. And I credit to Farrell. Like, he came up with this idea. He pretty much organized the entire thing, and he had to pay me and my squad when we won. So it was it was a productive week.
No bragging there, right?
No bragging, but me, Brandon, Justin, and then a friend of mine from home did take the squad's crown.
So you're really good at Fortnite as well.
No, my friend from home and Justin Renix are really, really good, and then me and Brandon, we just play a role.
I was going to say, because Diego actually complained when you had the individual tournament and Brandon won. Diego was complaining that Brandon's a camper, and that's why he won. I don't even know what that means.
Oh, Diego
was like complaining that Brandon doesn't play the game the right way, and that's why he won essentially.
It was a different style of game. You got to give credit where credit's due. He came out on top at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So,
hey, if you win a game 1-0 and you bunker.
Diego, he in the finals of the solos, Diego, I think, killed me literally every single round.
Oh.
It was so annoying. But what I will say is sometimes you just gotta tip your cap. It literally came down to one kill at the end. If Farrell had killed Brandon, Farrell would have won the whole thing. Then it would have been a giant conspiracy. But Brandon did in fact come away with the kill. It was like electric stuff. After like 4.5 or 5 hours of just like sitting there like this, for it to all come down to one moment was kind of sick. And Brandon came out on top. Unlucky Andrew.
Well, congratulations to your team for taking it in the bigger tournament.
I don't want to brag too much. I don't want to brag too much. Like I said, I was just a role player. There were guys that did far more than I did, but I did assemble a team that could win, and I think arguably that's pretty important.
We'll consider that a humble brag then. How about that?
That's fine.
All right.
I'm okay with that.
Okay. And Matt, I want to ask you too about at home, how you've been staying physically fit. What kind of workouts have you been doing to keep in shape for when soccer comes back?
Soccer's coming back. So someday we're going to get to play soccer again. That's going to be fantastic. But right now, kind of approaching it similarly to like I would approach an off season. I did kind of have a little more time playing than other guys did since I had the Jan camp. So that's like another month almost on top of, I basically played for like 2 months. Then I got injured, and then, so I'm staying fit. They have a program for us that they've been sending out that you can do at home, which is really, really nice. Tons of different little things. I obviously have like some rehab programming like going through just to strengthen my knee that's been giving me some problems, but it's been feeling really good and strong again, which is awesome. And other than that, it's mostly just like running, which I'm not a huge fan of, but I got to do what I got to do right now to stay in shape. And I like to, as a goalkeeper, the running kind of like, it keeps you fit, but I don't personally see the correlation between like going for a 5-mile run and like what I would do in a game. So I set up some cones, work on my footwork. I love to jump rope and stay light on my toes. And I do tons of like, I'll find a nice hill and run up a hill, or I'll just work on like jumping, just doing things like as explosively as I can, because I think that all like really helps. And for me, the biggest thing right now, since the access to like equipment and all that is not so great, the biggest thing, is diet. And I've really been trying to pay attention to the little details in terms of my diet, weighing myself every morning and trying to like keep consistent. So that way, when the time comes, I'm not a balloon. Sorry if that struck any chords, Jeff.
And I know, Elizabeth, you're going to get into questions about the diet as well, but I wanted to touch a little bit upon the workouts, because I saw an interview Brad Knighton had done recently. He was talking about staying fit, and he said for him right now, it's a lot about, like you said, just kind of trying to keep the physical fitness there, because you can't do a ton of the actual goalkeeping work. And he said he felt like as a veteran goalkeeper, when he gets back into the mix of that, once he's actually able to get onto the field, because he's been doing it for so long, catching a ball and diving and the reaction time, he said that's going to come back pretty quickly. So do you focus on any of that type of stuff, or are you more concerned with just kind of keeping the fitness and then the soccer stuff will come back?
Yeah, you don't really forget that kind of stuff. And I mean, for him especially, he's a little bit older. Like, I like to remind him. And
He's like my age.
yeah, I like to remind him that too. It's good for him to have like a little rest for his body every once in a while, right? And he'll never admit that, but I'll say it for him. And I think it's good for goalkeepers in general, because like for some reason I feel like flinging yourself on the ground that like as hard as you can and diving and is like not good for you at some level. So to have a little bit of a break from that, let your body recover. Like I had a couple of nicks, so having that time just to get everything right and do the little things that'll fix bigger problems, I think that's huge right now. And Kevin, credit to Kevin Hitchcock, he does a really, really awesome job of managing us on and off the field. He's checked in with me, seeing what I'm doing. I kind of like bounce some ideas off him. He's like, all right, don't go crazy now. Like don't be doing anything too crazy in the goalkeeping side of things, because as long as you're fit and healthy, like when you go back in, you can't simulate team training. It's just it's impossible, especially as a goalkeeper. You need at least 3 people to get in like a decent goalkeeping session, and right now that's just not in the cards. So you do what you can. I think like core strength, stability strength, and power are like the biggest things that you can work on right now as a goalkeeper so that way when you're transitioning back in, you feel as good as you can. Typically in the off season, I approach it the same way. I might do 2 or 3 goalkeeping sessions all off season. Maybe that'll change as I get a little older and I don't want to like just go in cold turkey and be like, okay, yeah, I can dive normally. Like maybe I want to kind of like work into it again. But I found success with that over the years. I usually feel mentally more refreshed when I get back into it. And I feel like hungry to get back in the goal and like get the feeling of the ball like in my hands and that kind of stuff. So that's a piece of advice I got going into my first off season as a pro. It was Remy, and he basically said, listen, you played from August to December, all of January through the whole year, like take some time off from goalkeeping. Because I'm thinking to myself, all right, like they picked up my option, I'm feeling good, like I want to like really push for it, like let's start right away. I like had texted my goalkeeper coach from college being like, all right, like it's day 1 of the off season, like let's get after it. And Remy kind of like told me, he gave me some advice, and no one had ever told me like work less hard before, but it was definitely an eye-opener on a different way to work hard. To like, it's hard to mentally and physically relax. It's hard to do that. It's hard to press reset, and I'm still learning how to be able to like perfectly what the perfect balance, what the perfect formula is to get into the beginning of January or mid-January and feel like you don't necessarily want to feel like perfect right then and there, because preseason's so long. You kind of want to build into it, so that way on February 29th this year, or even there, it still might not be perfect, but like the next couple games, you want to continue to grow and get better. And I felt like I was climbing, and then just fell off a cliff because there's no soccer now.
Well, there will be soccer again at some point in the future. And I know you mentioned doing some different exercises that the coaches gave you, and also just some core exercises. So what are those go-to exercises at home that you like doing at this time?
I hope you're not asking me to like give a
no tutorial necessary.
No, all right, good. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I love skipping, like jumping rope. I think that's like such a good workout, particularly for goalkeepers. That's not really on the plan, but for me, it's always been a huge part of my training regime, because it's just like, you imagine, like if you watch goalkeepers, all of them are always just like on their toes kind of, and that's literally what jumping rope is. And you're just finding a rhythm, and you need to be like switched on a little bit mentally, so you can like, so your feet and your hands are working together, and it's all about timing and rhythm. And I think that's like a lot about goalkeeping too. Core exercises, I mean, geez, I really mix it up. It's hard. Like anything that involves my like legs going really far away from my body, I'm not that good at, because I'm really long. So I typically like to like kind of hold it tighter together, dead bugs, plank series, those kind of things. But like if I'm like leg lowering my hips, it's just this whole process.
All right, well,
can you, sorry, Matt, can you jump rope in your apartment? Do you have like downstairs neighbors that you have to worry about? Because I know that's kind of a consideration.
Yeah, I'm a very considerate person when it comes to noise within the apartment, except for a few like screams when I'm like playing video games. But I try to walk light. I have a little alleyway behind my apartment. It's actually like this perfect little jungle gym. I got
oh man,
like a little like, it's probably 20 inches high between, like, because you kind of like come out from under the ground out the back door, and there's only one step, then there's another step, and then there's a third step. So then there's like, from that bottom step to that top step, it's like a 20 inch gap, because the steps aren't straight up. So like I can work on jumping there, but in that little alleyway, people are probably like, what is this guy doing back here? Because I'll be out there for like, between my phone, like warming up with like my foam roller, I have my music playing. I'm out there for like 2 hours, and people like walking by, like, who is this dude? What is this guy doing? But I keep in my little like, because I have a parking space behind my apartment. So, but then there's one that's empty. No one owns it. So like I work out in that little parking space, but I keep it in that little area so nobody can come into my social space.
Sounds perfect.
Yeah. So yes, it's makeshift.
And Matt, you mentioned the most important part of your regime is your diet right now. What does your diet consist of?
I like to eat a lot of food is my thing. I can eat almost anything. So it's been really challenging for me to lay off the snacks right now, because if it's in my apartment, typically it gets consumed very quickly. So the biggest thing for me is just one, portion control, and two, just having a little bit of discipline, which is easy when you have somebody like my mom who's like constantly FaceTiming you, pestering you, and she's a very dedicated person when it comes to diet and her workouts. I wake up in the morning and she already sends me like what her gym sent her for a workout. And she's like, did it in this time? I'm like, all right, well, I just woke up, so. But like I love to have it's not any sort of specific crazy diet. Try to limit the amount of like ingredients on things right now, so things that are just more raw and more like their truest self, like Ezekiel bread, so that doesn't have a ton of like added things to it. I have avocado toast every morning with some eggs.
Love that.
It's probably my favorite. I do that even when I'm at the training facility. Usually keep it pretty light for lunch, and then I'd love to have dinner, but like instead of pasta, I'll have like, Jeff's gonna hate this, but like chickpea pasta or edamame pasta, like just little things that are different, instead of crushing all these. When I'm in season, I can have that, I can afford that stuff, because the trainings are a little bit more challenging physically and mentally, and you want your body to feel and perform its like absolute tip top best and have the most energy possible. But right now I only need energy for like, I don't know, 2 or 3 hours, and then I can kind of like melt and coast. So I found consistency with it. I've been feeling pretty good. I feel like my body's running pretty well right now. So I'm going to stick with it for now, and we'll see what happens.
I don't want to take any credit, but I did inspire at least a portion of your diet during this isolation period.
You did. You posted the best looking buffalo chicken tender sandwich I think I've ever seen.
It was super healthy.
And the thing looked amazing. And I just, my mouth started watering for buffalo chicken. So made some healthier version of it. Some chicken in the crock pot with some Franks, a little bit of, and then just like shredded it and have lettuce wrap tacos with the buffalo chicken. It was fire. Thanks.
There you go. You're welcome.
That was good. Yeah, that was big time.
I love that. I'm all about the healthy swaps and recipes. I'm with my family, and we've been doing some swaps, but there's a big argument between me, who likes to be healthy, and my little sister, who doesn't. And it's always a battle to see who wins out.
That's what's good about living alone. It's just you can only argue with yourself and your voice inside your head. So
that's true. I have nobody to tell me that my unhealthy choices are the incorrect choices. I don't have to worry about it. No guilt.
Right. That's right. As long as you can shut that thing up back there, then you're good to go, which I don't think is too challenging.
Now,
but yeah, also, what's that?
I was gonna say, when you can't stop that voice in the back of your head, what's your go-to snack?
So that's the biggest thing I struggle with. Obviously, snacking. Man, I could go off on snacks, but I will say there's been these like cookie things that I've made that are like peanut butter, chocolate, and oatmeal, and that's it. Mm-hmm. And that's really like I can eat. It's really satisfied my craving for like chocolate and sweets, which has been good. And they're really easy to make. But if I'm like, you know what, I'm going for it.
Throw it out the window.
I'm hitting up Walgreens, which is like right around the corner from me. And I'm getting. It could be anything. But what is coming to my mind right now is white cheddar Cheez-Its. And I have to obviously get something sweet as well with that. Probably a white chocolate Kit Kat and a Three Musketeers. King size.
King size. I like it.
Gotta be king size. One is not enough.
And why white chocolate?
I will say, while I'm here, if I'm going to the movies, I really like to, if I'm going just to a movie theater, I'll get Goobers. It's like my movie snack. But if I'm going to a movie theater where there's an It's Sugar, you know those stores?
I've never heard of a Goober.
You never heard of It's Sugar? Oh man, It's Sugar is not to give too much free advertising on the Papa Gino podcast, but It's Sugar is basically you go in, you grab a bag, you can fill up your bag with candy however much you want, and you pay for the weight.
Wow.
So what I do is I get mini gummy bears. I put them like along the bottom. They're the front line. Then
layers.
Yeah, well, it's just until it feels right. Then peanut M&Ms. Then dark chocolate covered cashews, topped with Sour Patch Kids. So that way, all like the sour falls on the rest of the bag, and it's man.
You've got a system. How long did it take you to perfect that system? How many different times did you try different layers, putting this on top of this before you figured out the right system?
Honestly, it took me the better part of 2 years to figure out exactly how I would like. Because I've seen more movies in probably the past 2 or 3, or probably 4 years since I signed. I've seen more movies than I ever did really growing up. But like, if I'm just going to a movie theater, it's popcorn and Goobers. If there's an It's Sugar along the way, I'm getting the bag of candy, and that's it. And I gotta like open up my coat because I don't want, it's not illegal, but it's frowned upon.
Yeah.
Sorry to the movie workers.
Is that a routine that you only practice at the theater, or do you do it at home sometimes too, as a guilty pleasure?
No, I'll never bring that. That's reserved for the movie theaters. I'll never bring that home with me.
Well, speaking of free time, what have you been doing with all of this free time that you've had lately? Has that consisted of movies? I know you mentioned playing video games, FaceTiming. What else?
Started watching The Sopranos on HBO, so that's been taking up some good time. And that show is based in North Jersey, so it's pretty awesome to like watch and see some of the places, hear what they're talking about, and James Gandolfini's actually from my hometown, so. It's really cool to watch and see it all, and I don't know, it reminds me of some of my best friends are big time Italian Americans, so they like Vincenzo Macaluso and Peter Task, like guys with names that just scream Italian American, and they're So the guys in the show really remind me, and some of the things I've heard their parents say, and I'm like, whoa. So that's what that means. Like, I hear what it means now, and they're saying it when we were in high school. I'm like, okay, put two and two together. So it's very entertaining for me. Otherwise, staying inside and playing some video games, watching some shows, watching some movies. That's what it is. 2 or 3 hours workout. And then that's the other thing that's really helpful is I have a lot of time to focus on preparing my food, which is good. So typically cooking and doing my thing.
I know this is your first watch through of The Sopranos, but where do you stand on rewatching stuff? Because I'm big on, like, I'll say more than 50% of the time I sit down and throw Netflix on, I end up putting on something that I've already seen that I know I like. Where do you stand on rewatching stuff you know you like?
Never done it.
Really?
You'd never go back and be like, I love this movie, I'm gonna go watch it again?
A movie is different than a TV show.
Okay.
Because I can't commit to like a 7 or 8 season thing again. I think like it would just, I don't know. I've loved The Office. I can go back and watch episodes. I would never watch it front to back.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Would you put one on as like background noise while you're cooking in the kitchen or something like that?
Yeah, I would do that, but I wouldn't I wouldn't sit there and be like, oh yeah, I'm rewatching The Office. So especially for like a show like The Sopranos, I'm going to watch it once, and when I'm watching it, I'm going to put my phone down and I'm really going to watch it. So that way I try to experience the whole thing the first time, and then I want that experience to kind of be like its thing. I want to rewatch it and be like, oh, well, I know what's going to happen. Yeah, I don't know. That's just, but I love rewatching movies. I rewatched Superbad the other day, probably for the 9 millionth time. That's a good one. That one always gives me a good chuckle because it reminds me of like some shenanigans me and my friends got into in high school. And like my favorite part is like the little sleepover, at the end of the night. Like, me and my friend used to have sleepovers after a night like that. It just reminds me so much of it. He like boops him in the nose.
You just wake up the next morning and you're like, oh, it's all right. I guess we'll just see you later.
Like, all right. And then you smell it. You're like, okay, well, your mom's making pancakes again. Let's go eat some pancakes.
Special types of friendships.
It just kills it. It's actually funny. I called one of my good friends from high school the other day. His name is Mike. And his whole family was there. And I don't know what happened to me. I accidentally called his mom by her first name. But I was in the middle of something, so I was like, I got to go. So I left, and I called them back because they wanted me to teach them a card game. I called them back, and she answered the phone. She's like, what did you call me? And this is, she's really Italian-American. And so now I'm thinking, like, I'm going to get whacked. And she's like, what did you call me? I said, I'm so sorry. I realized after I hung up, I don't know what happened. I'm just talking like I'm doing right now, getting real nervous about it. She's like, it's the last time I ever make pancakes for you. That's what she threatened me with. I'm like, this is unbelievable. I'm 25.
Well, I feel like that's a really interesting kind of conversation of what age do you get to, if any age, where you start calling adults who you called Mr. or Mrs. whatever. Like, do you ever get to a point where you call them by their first name? Because I never feel comfortable with it. I'm 35 years old, and I still have friends' parents who are like, oh, call me by my first name. And I'm like, I can't. It feels weird. Yeah. I just can't do it.
Yeah, for the most part, I'm still a Mr. and Mrs. guy, unless I'm, like, explicitly told, like, first name. I had, like, this premonition in my head that she said something, but I mistook it. Like, she said something to me when we were in college that she said, oh, when you're out of high school, you can call me by my first name. But that's what I said to her as my excuse, because I'm a big excuse guy. And she said, no, I only say that to my students. She was a teacher. That's what I say to my students, not to you. Like, very straightforward. I said, oh, I misheard you. I'm sorry.
I think when you're younger, if you grow up calling someone Mr. and Mr., that's when it gets weird to switch. If you get into them when you're older, it doesn't make a difference if it's someone's parents or whatever it is. Yeah,
I still call my mom and dad, but we're like, my mom and dad, I'm very, very close with. They're like my friends, you know. So sometimes I'll call my mom by her first name or my dad by his first name, and they don't really bat an eye about it. It's usually when I'm messing with them, you know. So that's a good. I like that balance. I think that's healthy in my opinion. But what do I know?
And you mentioned card games. What are your go-to card games during this? Because I've been playing a lot of cards during this quarantine. So
Yeah. So solitaire. I taught myself how to shuffle. That was good. So solitaire is like the really good, you know, solo game. That's pretty much it. And then the go-to card game, a lot of the guys on the team will play it. It's called 22. It's like I don't know, it's hard for me to explain it now, but basically if your score, after every round, if you don't have the lowest card, you have to keep your card, and if your total points reach 22, you lose. So you want to lose with low cards. And so that's the game I was trying to teach Michael and his family.
That's very cool. We've been playing a lot of setback and pitch in my household, which is the same game, but that's what it's known as in two separate.
Setback and pitch, yeah. I've never played that in my life.
Well,
or heard of it.
We'll have to teach you at some point, but not on the Far Post podcast.
Yes, that sounds good. That could be a long podcast episode.
That would be a very long podcast episode. And I know we were talking about TV before we kind of shifted gears in the conversation. Westworld, I saw they just had their season 3 premiere, and you posted about that. Has that been a bright spot for you to have some new episodes to look forward to? Absolutely.
Unfortunately, that was running side by side with Curb until last weekend. Curb Your Enthusiasm is another huge show that I love. But yeah, I actually am going to watch episode 3 after this. I missed it on Sunday, and it's already Tuesday, so I'm behind. Somehow with all this time, I'm still behind. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. It's a great show. I could watch the whole season 1, season 2, and the 3 episodes of season 3 up until now and still have no idea what's going on. So it's a pretty confusing show.
And speaking of,
I try to read the forums and figure it out. That's another thing I do with my spare time right now.
Very nice. And speaking of getting behind or distracted, what's been the biggest rabbit hole you've gone down, like on social media or in one capacity or another?
Oh man, it's a tough one.
Hard questions only.
Yeah, apparently. I spent 3 hours or 4 hours the other day when Farrell played in Twitch Aid. I literally watched him play Fortnite for 4 hours. So I'd say I'll go with that. That's what I'm gonna stick with. That was like I play with Farrell all the time. It was for a good cause, I guess, but it's like still at the same time. When it ended, I was like, why did I just spend 4 hours watching Farrell play Fortnite when I could literally play with him in 30 minutes, you know? But it is whatever. So I'll go with that.
At that point, you were 4 hours closer to playing soccer again. That's really how I see every day.
Right.
Every day I get to the end of the day and I'm like, all right, another day down.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's like, how am I going to kill time enough where I can, when I can go to sleep and then wake up again and pass like some more time. No naps, because then I will mess my sleep up. So we only sleep at nighttime when you're supposed to sleep, or else everything's going to get messed up.
Fair enough.
Have you spent any of your free time keeping up with any of your national team teammates?
For sure, yeah. Catching up with a couple of them. I talk mostly with Sean Johnson and Sebastian Leggett. They're probably two of the guys I got closest with during Jan Camp, and we're just I actually have a couple messages from them right now. We have a little group chat. It's pretty entertaining from time to time. Sean loves Whole Foods, and there's some drama going on with Whole Foods. So Sebastian and I were just checking in on him, making sure that he was okay.
I noticed that the national team Instagram account put out a post of one of your teammates, Weston McKennie, doing the Renegade dance. Did that come up in the group chat at all? And if it did you guys rate his dance moves?
Yeah, they not really. It came up in the group chat. Some of the elder members of there's like a bigger group chat as well. Some of the elder members were given some shtick, but I kind of keep my voice in the background on those types of things. You know, it's a new age. I'm not a TikTok person, but I did indulge in Vine when I was in college, so I'll give him that. And do I rate his dance moves? Better than mine. They're better than mine. So
Hey, at least you're honest. Speaking of TikTok, my little sister, is a total side note, she put out a TikTok video of my family having a mandatory family meeting, and it went viral. Literally has 5 million views.
My
She
gosh.
gained 20,000 followers from it. It's absurd. Absolutely absurd.
She's like TikTok famous. That's awesome. Good for her.
Yeah, she ranked
I
us
want to see
all
this.
during
I
the
want to see this
quarantine.
video now. You're gonna have to embed the video in this podcast or something like that.
Might have to. She ranked us all during the quarantine and made a pyramid, and my dad was at the bottom and my sister was close to the top, and then told us why we all got the certain ranking.
Oh, that's pretty funny, actually. That's creative. See, that's another good thing. People, it's people just being creative. I've seen some funny stuff out there, some good jokes on Twitter and stuff. So it's good.
What's the funniest one you've seen?
Funniest one I've seen, I don't know. I don't like to make light of the seriousness of the situation, but when people like kind of make jokes about being like cooped up and being quarantining, and I just get a chuckle out of it because it's just making light of a horrible situation, which I think is important.
I put out one of my workouts the other day. I don't know if you had a chance to check it out.
I did see that.
So did that help you stay fit?
I wanted to bring this up.
Uh-oh.
No, we lost Matt.
Oh no.
Get him back. We got to get Matt Turner back.
Hey, Michelle. I love you, but I call you back? I'm in the middle of a live interview.
Tell her we say thank you for everything.
Thank you for your work,
No,
Michelle.
it's okay. They said thanks for your work. Say it again, guys.
Thanks, Michelle.
Thank you so much, Michelle. You're a hero.
She said thanks. I didn't put her on speaker, but she said thanks. Yeah, I'll call you back after. All right. Bye-bye.
You really are chatting all day, every day.
She's so rude.
Seriously.
She's so rude. Unbelievable.
Siblings are the worst sometimes.
I know. Can I get a little privacy? Unbelievable. So annoying.
I don't even know what we were talking about.
Me neither. I lost it.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember.
Your workouts.
No, your workouts. And I will say that I think Pehota, you got some work to do if you want to keep on the same level as Jeff is over there.
I know. He has some serious tips there. I'm going to take those into consideration.
Those are like goalie workouts, Jeff.
Yeah. This is what you get with that workout. This is the end result. So make your own decisions as to whether you want to do that workout or not. But if this is what you're going for, this is what you get.
I went and showed my family your videos after Jeff. We were on a walk. We took my dog for a walk, and I was just cracking up. So I showed them, and they all appreciated it.
Well, thank you for that.
It's quality humor. I can't wait for this week's workout.
Oh God, it's already some ideas are brewing.
That's awesome.
And speaking of social ideas, what have you thought of the challenges that have been going around, Matt? I know you participated in the stay-at-home challenge with the toilet paper.
Yeah, I did one. There's just too many. You can't keep up. Yeah, it's not my thing to start like putting out a bunch of stuff. I did for like maybe the first 3 or 4 days, but I like run out of patience with like doing all the challenges, all the posts, all the this, that. My social media has been pretty quiet recently, which is all right. I think that's also another thing that's pretty good. But if I remember there was like all these goalie challenges and save challenges, and I was getting a lot of tags, so I was finally like, all right, I'll do one just to hopefully not get any more. And that did work. So yeah, I mean, it's cool, people showing off their skill sets and doing their thing. I think that's pretty cool, and some people have gotten really, really creative with it, which I think is great. But I'm not that creative. I literally think I just juggled 10 times, and that was about it.
I think you at least could have done the game face challenge, which I think Farrell might have challenged you to.
He did.
And if you were going to do the game face challenge, it would have had to have been chomping Joseph Martinez's finger.
I know,
100%.
especially after the one that Farrell posted, all that profanity. God.
Oh, pretty funny. And speaking of teammates, I know you live alone, but which teammate would you not want to be quarantined with right now?
Oh, Farrell. I'm good being distant from him.
But you guys have kept in such close contact.
I know. It's been great. I wouldn't want to be quarantined with Andrew Farrell. Sticking to that.
Why?
I'm just leaving it at that.
All right, we'll leave it at that. But I think Jeff has some other goofy questions for you in a round of would you rather. So let's indulge in that quickly.
All right.
Yeah, we'll start to wrap things up, but I do want to hit you with some would you rather questions before we finish up. Some are soccer related, some are not soccer related.
But
So
all
we'll
of them
start
are
with
really difficult.
incredibly difficult. I had hours upon hours upon hours to come up with these 5 questions, and this is what I landed on. So, first question. All right, you're in goal, as you tend to be. Would you rather face Messi one-on-one on the dribble or a Ronaldo free kick? Let's say he's 30 yards out, no wall.
Ronaldo free kick, for sure. It would make me look silly. At least Ronaldo, I can like maybe make a save. Messi free kick, or Messi dribbling at me. That's mine and Dewan's birthday buddy, by the way.
Messi?
Anybody cared? Yeah.
Very cool.
Me, Dewan, and Lionel Messi. So he's only the 3rd best soccer player that was born on that day.
That is very accurate. Small sidebar on that. So you'd rather face the Ronaldo free kick, but who's, of all the guys you've played with or against, who's hitting the hardest shot? Like, who is it that has taken some shots on you? You've gotten 2 hands on him and like, all right, that's done the work.
That's what I like to call lettuce wrist. Who's got Kai was pretty strong. Kai when he connected, he had a really strong shot. I'm trying to think of who else. I mean, Brandon can strike the ball, but I mean, it's not like the hardest I've ever faced. I'm trying to think. Buxa can, when he connects, he's a good one. Gustavo can put a lot of movement on the ball. I don't know. I'm trying to think of guys now. Against Zlatan, I never played against Zlatan. I was suspended when we played the Galaxy, and he didn't come play at Gillette.
Why were you suspended?
You know why? For a reckless challenge. Let's just leave it at that. And yeah, so I don't know. A lot of people.
All right,
The
we'll move
first
on.
hardest shot I've ever faced was from this guy in my high school. His name was Ishmael. He was this Argentinian kid, and everyone just called him Hippie because of the way his hair was. He didn't even speak English, but he could strike the ball so hard. I watched him hit the ball. There's this goalie. I was a freshman. There was a goalie who was a sophomore, and like the ball came in and like hit him in the hands, and he broke his wrist. I was like, oh my god.
Ooh.
It's like Mighty Ducks where the dude Fulton takes a slap shot and the keeper just ends up in the net.
Yeah.
Whew.
Yeah.
That's rough. All right, we'll move on with the would you rather.
Okay.
A non-soccer would you rather. Would you rather have the ability to speak all languages or have the ability to speak to animals?
That's a good one. Probably all languages. I think that would be something that would just be amazing to be able to relate to all different groups of your own race, your own species, I should say, not race, your own species around the whole world. You can go anywhere and communicate with people. I think that is sweet. That's
one thing that I feel like I should be doing more of with all this time right now is learning another language. But it's something every day I'm like, yeah, I should be doing it.
Yeah.
All right, then back to a soccer one. Would you rather face a Dave Vandenberg penalty or an Andrew Farrell penalty?
I'd rather face an Andrew Farrell penalty.
I don't think fans out there know how much Dave Vandenberg can still ball, and particularly how well he can strike a ball with his left foot.
Dave is a good player. he was a good player and is still a good player.
Still.
Yeah.
And he has some bite to him in training. I'm not sure, he's out there competing. So Dave's good. He's really helped me a lot with technique on striking the ball because that left foot is so clean. So he's really helped me out a ton. But yes, definitely an Andrew Farrell penalty. He might score it, but I'm just saying I would rather.
That's I was setting it up for that to be the potential answer. Sorry for that, Andrew. I've just seen Dave Vandenberg strike the ball too many times to know that I don't think anybody would want to be in net.
He looks dangerous still.
Would you rather look young but feel old, or look old but feel young?
Feel young but look old? Nah, that sounds gross to me. Yeah, I gotta go with look old and feel young.
All right.
Although that could get you into some problems, because your body, you might feel a certain way, but your body really can't do those things. But I will say that if you are young, like you're young but you feel old, you're not going to do those things anyway. So you might as well have a better mentality.
Yeah. Yeah, give it a go.
Yeah.
All right. Last, would you rather? Would you rather save a stoppage time penalty to secure a win, or set piece, corner down the other end of the field, stoppage time, you're allowed to go forward, you score the goal to equalize lead?
Come on, Jeff. I mean, everyone wants the glory of a goal, but it's got to be preserving a win.
Okay.
I
like that answer.
Saving the pen to preserve a win. It's more points. Yeah, you score a goal, we only get 1 point. You want to maximize your points here.
Such a team player.
I just wanted to see how much of a glory hunter you were. And
no, I mean this is in my job description. Scoring goals is not in my job description.
You passed the test.
Right.
That'd be sweet. But
it would. And my final question for you, not a would you rather, but this is a question I asked Diego Fagundes when we had him on last week. If you could relive one moment from your career, you could go back and experience all of the emotions of that moment again, what moment would you go back and relive in your still young career?
It's a loaded question.
A very good question, if I may say so myself.
It is a really good question, because I feel like I've had some like serious ups and downs in my career so far, which I don't want them to be that way. I want it to be more leveled and consistent, but it's just the reality of my situation. So sometimes those really good times can feel really, really good because of that. But I'd have to say, if I could choose one moment, one specific moment, and I don't want to, let me preface this answer by saying that last year at Red Bull Arena was probably one of the most special nights of my life in general. Stoppage time save, my dad's high school soccer team, my hometown's high school soccer teams were at the game. All my family and friends are at the game. We had hundreds of like Rev supporters there. It was just, that night made me just fall in love again with just everything I get to do. But in saying that and how special that night was, the moment that I would want to relive again is how much passion I felt in the moment after I saved the penalty in my first home game, because it's just something felt so right about the whole thing, because it was like you made the save, but you also like parried it right back to the guy, and then you kind of caught like this stroke of luck where he missed a wide open goal. And it was like just the feeling of that, and the way my whole like career, I feel like that play sort of summed up me. It's like you do something really great, and then like maybe a little bit of luck, and you just make the most of it. You just like, you got to take like the opportunities you have, and you got to try to solidify yourself every time. So that moment, to be able to play my first ever game at Gillette and have that as like my defining moment of that game in front of the fans in the home opener, and just kind of announce myself that way, that was something that I could never ever do what I have done so far. Not that I've accomplished anything great, but I've done some good things, and I don't think I have the same opportunities if I don't have that moment. So that's the one.
We still use that picture all the time. The picture
I know.
of you, like, that thing's everywhere.
And let me just say something else. Was anybody going to tell me that my hair was like the worst ever then? Because I realized that like maybe halfway through the season I had to shave my head, because like the line that I had on the side like just kept creeping over and over. And then I just had like half a head of like long hair. I'm like, this looks terrible. Like, yeah, I saw a picture and I was like, this looks horrible. I need to like shave my head immediately and start over. I need to press reset.
Yeah, I don't say anything to anybody about their hair.
That's fair. But, you know, I don't take offense. So if people think, you know, hey, your hair looks bad, let me know.
Well, your soccer skills speak louder than your hair, so.
Fair enough, I guess, for right now. Oh, right now I'm all about hair, so. You couldn't tell with this beard and hair. I can't get a haircut anywhere. It's impossible.
No, yeah, it's impossible right now.
Yeah.
I think that's about it, though, right, Jeff?
I think so. We've subjected to you to an hour of our inane questions and would you rather and all this stuff. So we really appreciate you taking the time. We're glad.
Hopefully it's useful stuff. I mean, like I said, this was an hour. Now I can, you know, I'm an hour closer to bed, which means I'm an hour closer tomorrow, which means I'm an hour closer to playing soccer again. So
that's the attitude. I like that.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for joining us, Matt. We really appreciate your time and hope that you continue to stay safe and practice those physical fitness and diet habits. We'll try to integrate some of those into ours as well.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Let me know, Jeff, if you need any of those recipes.
I appreciate it.
And
I'll take your buffalo chicken recipe, and then I'll put it on a sub.
Yeah, and I'm sorry how my rude sister interrupting our little FaceTime call here.
Your sister is a hero, so I'm glad we were able to hear from her.
Especially since you were speaking so highly of her before.
Well, now it's more of an annoying sister feeling. So
it's all about the balance.
It is. All right, guys.
Okay, thanks, Matt.
Thank you so much, Matt. Really appreciate it.
No problem, guys. Enjoy. See ya.
You too.